Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israeli army says remains of one of the two hostages returned by Hamas identified. Netanyahu reiterates Israel would spare no effort until all the fallen hostages are repatriated. No kings protests erupt across US as thousands rally against Trump administration's policies on immigration, education and security. Demonstrations also in Canada and Europe. Pakistan and Afghanistan agreed to immediate ceasefire at Doha mediated talks after deadly cross-border clashes. In a crucial showdown at Women's World Cup, India aimed to bounce back after two consecutive defeats, while England eyes semi-final berth at Indore. And the holy city of Ayodhya gears up to celebrate the grand Deepotsav on the banks of Saryu River, marking the homecoming of Lord Ram. Israel confirmed on Sunday that 54-year-old Ronen Engel from Nir Oz, killed on October 7, 2023 and held in Gaza, was among two bodies returned on Saturday. Israel received the remains of two hostages from Gaza via Red Cross. The latest handed over of bodies brings the total deceased hostages returned to 12 out of 28 agreed upon in last week's US broker deal. Hamas claims it has exhausted accessible sites but needs specialized equipment to recover the rest amid Gaza's rubble-strewn ruins. Israeli officials dispute this, alleging the group holds more remains and is delaying to evade disarmament. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned on Saturday that the conflict is not over until Hamas fully disarms and all hostages are returned. Netanyahu, in a late-night Israeli Channel 14 address, reaffirmed Israel's readiness to resume military action if ceasefire terms fail, mirroring Trump's stance. And families mourn amid hope and fury, with vigils lighting up Tel Aviv. Mediators urged patience, estimating weeks for full recovery, but public pressure mounts for phase 2, which involves permanent truce and governance overhaul. And the Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt will remain closed until further notice. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office announced on Saturday, dashing hopes for its Monday reopening. The decision hinges on Hamas fully complying with ceasefire terms, including two more late Saturday via the Red Cross. This comes after the Palestinian embassy in Cairo announced the crossings to plan reopening for Gazans returning from Egypt, but Israel refuted it swiftly, citing security and truce integrity. The US brokered ceasefire, effective since October 10, mandates increased aid flows and reconstruction. 8 trucks queue on Egypt's side, but entry is rerouted through Israeli-controlled Kerem Shalom, averaging 560 tons daily. UN officials warn of malnutrition deaths exceeding 400, urging mediators to expedite. Meanwhile, Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati called for the start of second phase of ceasefire talks in Gaza and for sufficient humanitarian aid into Gaza. Speaking at a press conference in Cairo following talks with Maldives Foreign Minister Abdullah Khalil, Abdelati noted that the mediators have successfully resolved the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and it is now time to look ahead. He expressed hope that all parties would start negotiations for the second phase of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza. He also stressed the importance of making urgent efforts to ensure that aid supplies can reach the Gaza Strip without obstruction. Now, millions of people took to the streets across US on Saturday in No Kings marches opposing President Trump, with demonstrations unfolding in more than 2,500 cities across all 50 states and several European capitals. Protesters in Washington, D.C. gathered near the National Mall to protest against Trump's policies. This is what democracy looks like, chanted thousands near the U.S. Capitol, where the federal government was shut down for a third week amid a legislative deadlock. And the rally in New York City's iconic Times Square drew thousands of people as the rally began on Saturday. The streets and the subway entrances were densely packed with people holding up signs with slogans like democracy, not monarchy. In Chicago, demonstrators filled the streets as Donald Trump's administration asked the U.S. Supreme Court on Friday to allow his deployment of National Guard troops to Illinois as the Republican president moves to dispatch military personnel to a growing number of Democratic-led locals and expand the use of armed forces for domestic purposes. Now, protesters spanning all age groups took to the streets in Seattle for No Kings rallies, denouncing what they view as authoritarian tendencies and unbridled corruption of President Trump. Protesters also rallied in Atlanta, denouncing Trump with a No Kings message amid accusations of authoritarianism and threats to democracy. Crowds also packed the streets of Los Angeles as part of the No Kings rallies. Protesters said they fear the deployment of troops and policy rollbacks mark a deeper erosion of civil liberties. Prominent Democrats, including Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, as well as Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, joined protesters in several cities, framing the day's marches as a defense of democracy and civil liberties.
In the year 2025, in this dangerous moment in American history, our message is exactly the same. No, President Trump, we don't want you or any other king to rule us. Thank you very much, but we will maintain our democratic form of society. We will not move toward authoritarianism in America. We, the people, will rule. We rejected the divine right of kings in the 1770s. We will not accept the divine right of oligarchs today.
As cities across the U.S. host No Kings rallies, anti-Trump demonstrators also gathered near the U.S. consulate in Toronto on Saturday for the No Tyrants protest. Some 300 protesters held signs and dressed up in costumes as they spoke out against what participants view as President Donald Trump's autocratic tendencies and anti-democratic actions. In Germany, protesters gathered in Berlin on Saturday to participate in a No Kings event opposing U.S. President Trump's policies. The demonstration, part of a broader global mobilization, featured attendees holding signs, wearing costumes and waving flags. Berlin participants emphasized the international significance of the protest. Now, Bolivia will choose between two right-wing figures in presidential elections on Sunday, ending 2 decades of socialist rule. Right-wing former President Jorge Tuto Quiroga and center-right ex-mayor Rodrigo Paz go head-to-head in Sunday's runoff, which brings the curtain down on 2 decades of socialist rule launched by coca farmer Evo Morales in 2005. The winner of the election will be inaugurated on November 8. Rodrigo Paz was the surprise victor in the first round of voting, despite registering less than 10% in early polling. He carried more than 32% of the votes in the August 17 general election, while his rival Quiroga came in second place with nearly 27% of the vote. Neither met the threshold to win the presidency outright, which would have required winning 50% of the vote or 40% with a 10-point margin over the nearest competitor. Updates on Russia-Ukraine crisis now. Repairs on damaged offsite power lines to Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant commenced on Saturday following local ceasefire zones established by Russian and Ukrainian forces, IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi announced on X. The 4-week outage since September 23rd, the longest since Russia's 2022 invasion, has relied on diesel generators with no safety lapses reported as reactor coolant temperatures remain stable. The complex plan spanning both sides of the front line is expected to take a week. Both nations confirmed cooperation, emphasizing nuclear security. Ukrainian Minister Svitlana Herinchuk stressed reconnection to Ukraine's grid to avert incidents. Moscow claims control while Russia builds alternative lines to its network. The plant's 6 reactors, once powering 1/5 of Ukraine's electricity, remain shut amid mutual accusations of sabotage. Now, Afghanistan and Pakistan have agreed on an immediate ceasefire following high-level talks in Doha, Qatar's foreign ministry announced on Sunday. Mediated by Qatar and Turkey, the Saturday negotiations led by Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif and Afghanistan's Mullah Muhammad Yaqub aim to end a week of deadly clashes along their 2,600-kilometer border, the worst since Taliban's 2021 takeover. The violence, triggered by Islamabad's demands for Kabul to curb cross-border militants, killed over 50 and wounded hundreds, including civilians. A 48-hour truce extended Friday helped despite alleged Pakistani airstrikes in Paktika province, which Kabul decried as violations. Both sides pledged follow-up meetings to sustain the ceasefire, establish verification mechanisms and foster lasting peace. Now, Japan's Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, and the right-leaning Japan Innovation Party have agreed to form a coalition government, Kyodo News reported on Sunday, bolstering LDP leader Sanae Takaichi's bid to become the country's first female prime minister. The pact, finalized after intense policy talks, includes Ishin's support for Takaichi in Tuesday's parliamentary vote, though no initial cabinet post for Ishin. The alliance follows Komito's abrupt exit from the 26-year LDP coalition last week, triggered by scandals and election losses. The LDP pledges to pursue zero consumption tax on food and ban corporate donations, aligning with Ishin's reform agenda. Opposition Constitutional Democratic Party, which is CDP of Japan, rebuffed by Ishin, nominated Yoshihiko Noda as its PM candidate, vowing to challenge the bloc. Markets rallied 1.2% on stability hopes, where critics decry the shift towards hawkish policies on security and constitutional reform. Takaichi eyes swift confirmation amid global trade tensions. Now, Britain launched a national plan on Sunday to train and recruit hundreds of thousands for clean energy jobs, targeting 860,000 by 2030. 5 new colleges will focus on solar, wind and nuclear careers, while schemes aid ex-offenders, school leavers and unemployed workers. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband emphasized meeting demand for plumbers, electricians and welders amid booming renewable and nuclear investments. The plan ensures fair pay and protection for workers in publicly funded projects, aiming to decarbonize electricity by 2030. Britain plans to double clean energy investment to over £30 billion annually by 2035, boosting energy security. Now, Tehran's new Mariam Moghad's Holy Mary metro station features art blending Christian and Persian motifs, aiming to symbolize interfaith respect and honor the Virgin Mary. Located near an Armenian church, the station's design reflects Iran's constitutional recognition of religious minorities and the Virgin Mary's status in both Christianity and Islam. In Peru, thousands of Peruvian Catholic worshippers, many dressed in purple robes, followed the Lord of Miracles procession winding through the downtown streets of the capital city of Lima on Saturday. The event was joined by country's newly elected president, Jose Sherry. Now, Mexico City's streets turned into a chilling scene on Saturday as thousands of zombie enthusiasts took part in an annual zombie walk showcasing ghoulish costumes and detailed makeup. The zombie walk initially began in Sacramento, California in 2001 and has since spread to cities globally. The monumental Alle Brijes parade, a colorful procession of massive papier-mâché folk art sculptures, was held in Mexico City on Saturday. The annual event, organized by the Museo de Arte Popular, celebrates Mexican arts and crafts. It serves as a prelude to the Day of the Dead festivities. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. the holy relics of Lord Buddha to return India after week-long exposition in Russia's Kalmykia. India's Chandrayaan-2 orbiter makes history, detects sun's coronal mass ejection impact on moon's exosphere. And we'll also show you how the Indian Army's Goodwill schools in Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh are nurturing future generations.
Prepare for the brightest night of the year. Story of Diwali and its diversity. It's time for the Festival of Lights.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. India's Chandrayaan-2 orbiter made history on Saturday with its Chase-2 instrument capturing the first ever observation of a coronal mass ejection impacting the moon's exosphere on May 10, 2024. ISRO reported a surge in dayside lunar exosphere pressure with neutral atom density rising over 10-fold, confirming theoretical models. The moon's fragile, surface-bound exosphere, lacking a magnetic shield, is highly sensitive to solar wind and CMEs, which liberate surface atoms. This milestone offers insights into lunar space weather and challenges for future lunar bases, as extreme solar events could temporarily alter the environment. The holy relics of Lord Buddha will return back to India after their week-long exposition in Elista, the capital of the Republic of Kalmykia in Russia. The Indian delegation, led by Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha, will bring back the holy relics of Lord Buddha on Sunday. The relics, originally enshrined at the National Museum in New Delhi, was ferried to Russia in a special Indian Air Force aircraft and reached Elista on October 11. As part of the exposition, it was later temporarily enshrined in the main Buddhist monastery in Elista, known as Gedin Sherup Choikordling Monastery, also called the Golden Abode of Shakyamuni Buddha. This historic exposition, the first of its kind in the Russian Republic, is a testament to the deep civilizational bonds between India and Russia. It revives the enduring legacy of 19th Kushok Bakula Rinpoche, the revered Buddhist monk and diplomat from Ladakh, who was instrumental in reviving Buddhism in Mongolia and reigniting interest in Buddha Dharma in Russian regions like Kalmykia, Buryatia and Tuva.
आने के बाद ये विश्वास और दृढ़ हुआ है कि कलमिनिया के लोगों में भगवान बुद्ध को लेकर के बड़ी श्रद्धा है। और सुबह स्टेट अफेयर के साथ मीटिंग में मुझे ये जानकारी मिली कि हर पांचवां नागरिक यहाँ का वो होली रिलिक्स को देखने गया है। इस प्रांत में विशेष रूप से भगवान बुद्ध को लेकर के और भारत को लेकर के लोगों के मन में जो आदर भाव है वो निश्चित रूप से सराहनीय, और भारत सरकार ने बहुत सोच समझ करके एक कदम उठाया। इससे आने वाले दिनों में भारत, कलमिनिया और रूस के संबंध और प्रगाढ़ होंगे।
The holy city of Ayodhya glows with divine fervor as Deepotsav 2025 preparations are at peak, aiming for a Guinness record with over 2.6 million diyas across 56 banks of river Saryu. Themed Ayodhya, city of light and devotion, the city dazzles with LED displays and lamp-shaped illuminations along the Rampath, Janmabhoomi Path and Hanumangadi Marg. Guided by Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, 33,000 volunteers will craft a radiant spectacle with 80,000 diya rangoli and virtual diya lighting via Divya Ayodhya app. Last year's 25 lakh diyas lit the holy city, while this year's glow aims to further elevate faith, culture and tourism, drawing millions. A major attraction this year will be a 32 feet tall Pushpak Viman at Ram Ki Paidi, showcasing scenes from Ramayana and giving visitors a vivid experience of the epic. And earlier on Saturday, the Kartavya Path in national capital Delhi was adorned with 151,000 earthen lamps and drones lit up the sky in a Ramayana-themed laser show on Saturday as part of Delhi's first ever Deepotsav event to mark the Festival of Lights. The event unfolded with cultural performances, Ram Katha, storytelling sessions and a breathtaking drone show that illuminated the night sky, captivating thousands in attendance. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with cricket. India made a poor start with Australian skipper Mitchell Marsh won the toss and opted to field in the first one-day match in Perth. Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli and captain Shubman Gill got out cheaply. Kohli, featuring in his first international match in more than 7 months, fell for a duck before rain halted play. The play has resumed and the match has been reduced to 35 over per side due to prolonged interruption. Before rain stopped play, India were 37 runs for the loss of 3 wickets in 11.5 overs. Shreyas Iyer and Akshar Patel were at the crease. Earlier, India's all-rounder Nitish Kumar Reddy earned his maiden ODI cap from Rohit Sharma. Meanwhile, Australia also gave ODI debut caps to batters Matt Renshaw and Mitchell Owen. And after 2 losses, the Indian women's cricket team are in a tricky position in ongoing ICC Women's ODI World Cup 2025. With 2 wins and 2 losses in 4 games, the upcoming clash against a strong England side is a must-win for the women in blue to keep their semi-final hopes alive. The team needs to get back to winning ways, and a victory in this game will be a huge morale booster. And the Indian Army's 43 Army Goodwill Schools in Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh are nurturing future generations, as highlighted in a recent ex-post of the Indian Army. These schools, established since 1998, educate nearly 15,000 students focusing on remote areas. Recent updates show expanded infrastructure, including science labs and sports facilities, and initiatives like robotics clubs. The schools also support special needs children with programs like Baramulla's Dagar Parivar School.
In the remotest corners of the country, some of our citizens face tough challenges and are not yet fortunate enough to enjoy the fruits of progress. The Indian Army understands their hopes, dreams, and aspirations, and as an integral part of the community, shares both their joys and their challenges. Here, where equal opportunity and quality education can seem like a distant dream, we are building bridges to a brighter tomorrow. Army Goodwill Schools are not just schools. They are a promise of a better future in the farthest corners of the nation. The Indian Army builds and maintains infrastructure and provides modern facilities at these schools so that our children receive a high-quality education as the rest of the nation, ensuring no child is left behind.
सबसे पहले तो हम इंडियन आर्मी के बहुत शुक्रगुजार हैं। ये नॉर्थ कश्मीर का पहला स्कूल है जो इन बच्चों के लिए बनाया गया।
This is the step of the Indian Army that they have initiated in such a remote area that it gives us that opportunity.
From providing books in their hands to modern labs to experiment, each step is an investment in the future of India. In these nurseries of the future, knowledge is shaped with discipline, dreams are nurtured with values, and the leaders of tomorrow are born. For the Indian Army, victory is not just on the battlefield, but in the smiles on the faces of these children. Every achievement here is a promise kept, a promise to the nation. Army Goodwill Schools, shaping futures, strengthening the nation.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.